Hello, I'm Pastor Jeff Wood. Since we last talked, I have been involved with the Kansas Republican Party, working not as a neocon or with the neocons, nor with the establishment, but working for the people. So basically what I've done is I've worked with a lot of other individuals within the party to present on the next ballot the opportunity for the people of Kansas to vote in the Supreme Court justices of the state of Kansas. The Kansas people can be in control of who's in the Supreme Court. The way it's set up now, people within the family courts, within the whole court system, group of lawyers, and the inside establishment that work just for themselves. And I have experienced that myself. When my wife's brother was shot and killed, we did not see justice at all. It was the judge working with the prosecutors, all of them working together. Everybody that was supposed to be, it was like wrestling, or whatever the wrestling is today. It was like a wrestling match. Everybody was working together. They appeared to be working apart. Everybody was working together to keep and protect the government official who shot my wife's brother unarmed and not resisting. So anyway, I worked these guys to start to break up the inner structure of the good old boys-girls club here in Kansas, to break up the power structure of the family courts and also just the courts in general, where everybody in the system is working to protect each other in the system. I want to get it back to we the people. And we also are in a case right now where we are working for our granddaughters to get them out from under a bad home, a very horrible home life. And after my daughter died, and the family courts are a joke. And anyone who's been involved in family courts knows that. So again, I'm working with the rest of the people within the party. We can't make laws. We're not legislators. I am only a voting delegate, a member of the Kansas Republican Party. But we can vote to have legislation put on the ballot for the people to vote and the people to decide, or we can with legislators and tell them what we would like to see. So that's what we're doing, and next time we as Kansans vote, what I have been working on with the rest of the people within the party will show up on the ballot, and I am really looking forward to the Kansas people changing that to where the Kansas people choose the Supreme Court. So I've been working with that. I've been working on local politics. I've been working in local. We're continuing to prepare ourselves as a family, me and my sons, and in our church. And we are building up houses and acquiring property for our children and our grandchildren, and getting again involved in government. My brother has been working in one of the little towns in our area as the mayor. My sons have been on the board of this town. They've gotten a lot of problems solved with flooding, saved lots of money. They drove their own equipment. They fixed the land so that the flooding doesn't happen in the little town. My brother went in as the mayor of this little town and fixed a lot of problems and saved a ton of money. And he's getting ready to leave that mayorship. His time is about up. And he's going to leave it with $30,000 more than what he came there with, and yet they have paid for everything and gotten everything straightened out. So my point is that Christians ought to be getting involved in government, and we are going to build the government that we want for our community. And I am fighting against cultural Marxist influence that has come to our country. I also am strongly opposed to the right side Zionist-controlled political agenda. Marjorie Taylor Greene has come out, and I respect her for her stand. We've had several other political people, and people like Tucker Carlson has come out. He's moving in the right direction, let's just put it that way. I'm also pushing against the control of Zionism to the right, in the right part of the political party. In the left part of the political party, we have cultural Marxism. And all of these people are what the Bible warns us of in the book of Titus. And they are of the Bible says, the concision. And they are outside of the gates of the covenant, and they are ever trying to undermine and trying to weaken our Christian nations. and weaken our communities. I don't care who says what about what I'm saying. I'm saying the truth. And I see a lot of Gen Zers that are getting involved. There's two groups of people that are working hard to expose all of this, and that's the Gen X and the Gen Z. I'm from the Gen X generation. I am Generation X. We were the kids that when we were young, we were the people that when we were kids, the boomers that raised most of us, and I'm not talking about my mom and dad, but many of them, the boomers that raised us, we were the latchkey kids. The boomers were out, living their best life. From the left, the boomers fully accepted cultural Marxism. From the right, the boomers, the religious and the right boomers, they totally accepted Zionism. And that's the two sides of the same coin. And so the cultural Marxism to the left and drop out and just you're the final generation. And then on the right, the boomers were taught in the churches, Schofield, Zionism, you're the last generation, live it up, it doesn't matter about your kids. So Gen X, we grew up, we were the Red Dawn generation. We were the generation that had it in our minds, we're going to protect our country, we're going to have to eventually fend for ourselves. Not all, but many of the boomers had tuned out. They said, we're the last generation, the world really began with us, and it'll end with us. So we had on the right side, 1948, the boomer generation was taught, the religious side, they were taught that Israel's going to be reestablished in the Middle East. There's going to be this rapture. Church will be disappeared. The whole world's going to burn up with fire, starting with the generation of 1948 and onward. But again, on the left, they were tune in, drop out, forget about the next generation. So the cultural Marxists to the left and the Zionists to the right convinced the boomer generation that the whole world was going to basically end with them. It was don't prepare anything. So along comes us Gen Xers. We're a different group. And then comes along the Gen Zers, and that's my youngest son's age, Noah, and a lot of my grandsons. That's another generation that has come along and realized there's basically been nothing left for them. The boomers were the last generation, not all boomers, not all, but many of them were the last generation that enjoyed the retirement programs, enjoyed the Social Security, enjoyed all of this stuff, been able to buy their own house and one thing and the other. Gen Z has realized that all ended basically in the boomers generation. Gen Z and Gen X, a lot of people are saying if those two ever get together, we're going to have a problem, because Gen X and Gen Z, these two generations are the two groups of people, according to statistics, do not 100% support everything in this modern Rothschild established state of Israel. It's the Gen Xers. We were the ones that were the first ones when the internet started coming out. We were the ones that started figuring out who took down the Twin Towers. We were the ones that figured out who established the Federal Reserve. We were the ones that, and now all of a sudden a few years ago, my grandkids, the Gen Zers, they all of a sudden started discovering all this stuff we came to the conclusion, Gen Xers, came to the conclusion of. Now, the boomer, I'm not knocking them all, but the boomer generation, they're the ones that are like, I don't understand all this stuff. You're being lied to on the internet. A lot of them are like, if it's not on Fox News or NBC or CBS or ABC, we just don't understand it and we don't believe any of it. But the Gen Xers and the Gen Zs are figuring it out. There's a strong desire to get back to Christendom because everyone's looking at history and seeing back throughout history. Let's look at Martin Luther. Martin Luther was an Augustinian monk. He studied Augustine, who taught so many great things. I mean, he taught salvation by grace and things of that nature. But Augustine was the one who taught the Christians to get involved in government. Augustine understood the concept of 70 A.D. And so Martin Luther, being trained as an Augustinian monk, went back to a lot of Augustine's beliefs and a lot of his teachings. And Martin Luther started out trying to reform, and so he tried to reform. It went from reform to protest. John Calvin, another one, but he was a lawyer, but he was an avid reader of St. Augustine. And St. Augustine, again, wrote the book on the City of God, talked a lot about the church and government. St. Augustine had taught that we are the temple of God, that we as Christians are the temple of God. And St. Augustine had taught that the Lord Jesus reigns through his church, through his people, that we are the temple, that the temple's already on the earth. So both John Calvin and Martin Luther were avid readers of St. Augustine. I've read a lot of St. Augustine's works, and there's some pretty good stuff. And that's where I got my idea with my sons to get involved in local government, to get our church involved in every aspect of local government. And that's why we are slowly building Christendom in our area. Whether a person likes them or not, I won't get a lot on Martin Luther, but I know that John Calvin, I believe, had a very successful government system set up. He set up the presbytery in his church. He moved it away from Rome, and he set up the government system in his local church. We have the Presbyterians. Presbytery means the leadership of the pastors. He brought in elders and one thing and the other, and they structured both their church and their local community. A lot of what we've learned in America came from John Calvin. When the Pilgrims came over here, and a lot of the work ethic and a lot of the ideas of government did come from John Calvin and Geneva. But nonetheless, Gen Z and Gen X, a lot of people are saying, boy, if we get those two together, the tribe isn't going to like it too well. Well, the tribe rules everything right now. The tribe rules presidents. Through AIPAC, they control Congress. They control the movie industry. They control the porn industry. Everything along these lines, they control. And it's time we take our communities back and take our country back. I'm not going to stop telling the truth. This is what I've been doing since I've talked to you last, and I've been trying to get in shape physically. I believe that every Christian young man and old men ought to be physically in shape. I've been able to lose 55 pounds. I'm doing a lot of weightlifting. I'm doing a lot of slow jogging. I'm getting back to running again, building my strength back up. And, let's build the kingdom. Let's get in there. Let's build this thing. Let's take our country back from these outside globalist forces. Get back in there and do it right. I'm Pastor Jeff Woods. Have a good day.